Have you ever heard the saying, the mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master? It's a powerful statement, and it really gets to the heart of one of the core things we do work around in the art of mindful evolution. Let's unpack this a bit. First, think about the mind as a servant. It's a tool, an incredibly complex and capable one that helps us navigate the world. It processes information, solves problems, and helps us make decisions. When we use our mind as a servant, we're empowered. We direct our thoughts, we choose what to focus on, and we decide how to interpret and respond to situations. This is when the mind is at its best, working for us, helping us live more effectively and happily. But sometimes, without us even realizing it, the roles get reversed. The mind starts to take over. It becomes the master. And this is where things get tricky. When the mind is in charge, it can lead us down a rabbit hole of overthinking, worry, and anxiety. It can trap us in a cycle of negative thinking where every thought seems to spawn a dozen more worries. You know those times when you can't stop mulling over a problem, or when you're lying in bed and your brain just won't shut off? That's the mind trying to be the master. It's working overtime, but not in a helpful way. It's like a computer with too many tabs open. Everything slows down, and it's hard to focus on anything properly. And here's the thing about letting the mind be the master. It often focuses on the past or the future, but rarely on the present. It dwells on past mistakes, creating feelings of regret or guilt, or it jumps ahead to the future, conjuring up all sorts of scenarios and what-ifs, leading to anxiety and stress. But life is lived in the present. That's where happiness and contentment are found. So how do we keep the mind in its place as a servant, not a master? The first step is awareness. Recognizing when our thoughts are spiraling out of control and gently guiding them back. It's about noticing when we're getting caught up in those negative loops and consciously choosing to step out of them. Mindfulness practices can be really helpful here, and that's why I created the art of mindful evolution. Mindfulness is a pretty general term these days, but when done in a targeted way, it can teach us to observe our thoughts without getting tangled up in them. Think of it like sitting on the bank of a river, watching the water flow by. The water is your thoughts. You see them, acknowledge them, but you don't jump in and get swept away. You stay on the bank, calm, but awake and aware. Another key is to understand the nature of our thoughts. Our mind often jumps to judging our thoughts as either positive or negative, good or bad, true or untrue, helpful or unhelpful. We might even judge ourselves for having a thought in the first place. However, when we do this, we tend to get swept away in a flow of thoughts. We might notice ourselves returning to and recreating the same thoughts over and over and over again. And if our thoughts keep returning to the same place, it forms a pattern. And these patterns tend to make us feel a certain way. Have you ever noticed when your mind keeps going to the same places, it often makes you feel a particular way? Like if your mind keeps saying, I can't do this, over time, you're going to start feeling doubt, fear, frustration, helpless, discouraged. Our emotions drive our thoughts, so being in tune with how we're feeling can provide valuable insights into our thought patterns. When we understand our emotions, we can better direct our thoughts in a way that serves us rather than limits us. Sometimes, though, the mind can be stubborn. It doesn't want to give up control. But with the right training, it's possible to reshape our thought patterns and beliefs in such a way that aligns with what we want to create in life. Lastly, let's talk a bit about self-compassion. It's easy to get frustrated with ourselves when our mind won't cooperate. But remember, it's doing what it does best. Creating thoughts. It's trying to solve problems, prepare us for the future, protect us from harm. So when you find yourself battling with your thoughts, be kind to yourself. Acknowledge the effort your mind is making, even if it's misguided, and gently steer it back to where you want it to be. In the end, the mind is an incredible tool. It can analyze, plan, create, and so much more. But it needs guidance. It needs you to be the one in charge, directing it, keeping it focused on what's helpful and letting go of what's not. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts, the director of your mind. You have the power to use your mind in ways that enhance your life rather than letting it run wild and dictate your experiences.